Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Skye Blanks with us. He's the founder of HTC Group. Skye is quite an interesting person. He's mostly an executive, an entrepreneur, strategic partner. Right now, I believe his role is COO at International Council for Small Business. He's spoken to a bunch of committees, so it's a quite interesting person. Had a company called Primo Cannabis Company in 2022. So we're gonna discuss that one as well. I believe you still have it. You're still running that one, and yeah, you're very much involved. I would say on the political scene for entrepreneurship, for AI, and the younger gen. So that's something I can very much relate to. Before we get into the pod with Skye, just want to present this podcast with bookwritegpt.com, which is sponsoring this podcast. So if you want to write a book with your LinkedIn AI post, you can do so on bookwritegpt.com. It will create a fantastic book for you in seconds. And there's a free token for you on the house that you can use to write your own book. So bookwritegpt.com. Skye, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles. I'm super excited to talk about everything that we're getting into with ICSB and Primo and HTCG. I'm a man of many hats, and like you said, it's figuring out the future of entrepreneurship and business and how young people like me can help lead the charge with emerging technologies. So, I've been all over the place. I'm not really sure where you want us to start.
Yeah, tell me about your story and what built you into what you are today.
Sure. Really, I come from humble beginnings. I grew up in New Jersey, in Keyport, and went to a STEM school. Thought I was going to be an engineer because everyone, says, "Hey, engineering, you make a lot of money, a lot of technical stuff." I realized, hey, I'm very much a people person. I can't be behind the desk and just doing calculations. So let me look at more social science, and got a scholarship to go to George Washington University in DC, and that's really where I found my love for international affairs, small business policy, and economic development. And so I took a bunch of classes, tried to figure out what my path forward would be. And, really what impacted me and helped me was running to some really great mentors and professors in the university and internships I had, and really just seeing what the opportunities were out there. And so, doing those leadership roles and learning more about how business is done, not just in the United States, but overseas. I traveled to 23 countries with ICSB, so I've been able to learn about ecosystem building. And it's very interesting how a lot of the focus is different and the perspectives are different depending on where you go. And so I was able to kind of build on those experiences, learn about the gentle framework you have to do with import exports, just entrepreneurship and policy of getting a company started with their registration with the government in different places, how they can work with the United States and universities to jumpstart startups or even incubation labs. And so I worked a lot with that while I was doing my fellowship, my MBA. Advised with the Elevate program for entrepreneurs in Washington, D.C. locally, and taught them about executive programming on how to take their business to the next level using technology and, structures like mission statements and values to really be more than just a business, but be more of, we like to say, humane entrepreneurship, being focused on people first. And took those lessons in my MBA and had the opportunity with my dad to launch Primo Cannabis Company in New Jersey. And so very much a different space of going from big level policy into brick and mortar, selling B2C, and getting really in my hands dirty with this retail business. And it's been really
Getting
great.
your hands sticky.
Yeah. It's been really great to just learn about the company by being in the company and working with people every day, as opposed to just doing the policy and advising and the theory that academia really pushes. And so been able to be a successful business owner. We're top 10 in the state in terms of retail sales, and as an independent company that's not that operates within New Jersey, It's been really great, and we're privileged to be able to be here and share that knowledge about everyone else, because it's a hard industry because of how the regulations and how insulated it is. And I say it's prepared me for the outlook of what's happening with the United States overall, with just more protectionism across tariffs and things like that, where this industry of cannabis is very much protected within its own states. And so every state's own country, I say, and I've been prepared to, navigate the spaces of this new policy that's been implemented, because we have to, walk a fine line between financing, even just sourcing material and product. So it's been lots of great lessons, which has motivated me to, launch my coaching business, business growth strategy with HTC Group. So that's the full circle of everything, is all these experiences built on top of each other. And it's led me to have this really unique perspective where I apply, help business owners grow their business with the, newfound issues in the, economy, and as well as helping startups with Yale's Sci-City Startup Center and different competitions I like to advise and be a mentor for students.
My dad's also an entrepreneur, never launched a business for him. I helped him at various points with sales and marketing. He's a marketing consultant. So I know what it's like to have an entrepreneurial dad. What's your relationship with your dad? Who was he, and what kind of impact did he had in your life?
Yeah, so my dad's always been an entrepreneur. He's never, had a traditional job, and I think that's really what inspired me when I was growing up. Was like, hey, like he's able to have freedom to be his own boss, be able to be my coach for football growing up, and do these different things. And that's because he had to kind of build things up for himself. He didn't go to school, university. I'm the first to go to university and bring the hard skill sets, but he kind of learned on the go, self-taught himself how to do music. He was in the music industry for a while as a manager, working with like Rockefeller Records and things like that. And then he left that industry to pursue his other passion, which was health and fitness. And so while I was growing up, he was really involved in health and fitness, CrossFit, all that stuff. He was one of the founding gyms to implement those styles of training, and did that for up until we got into the cannabis industry. So he was training athletes, students, everyone alike, very much hands-on people person, built really great relationships. And I saw the power of those relationships from business, from being an entrepreneur, being so generous as well, not, being selfish. And I think leading with like humanity and in being with empathy is something that, I really learned from him. It's led us to have this successful business, because now we have all the tools, with me going to school and having some of the broader perspectives and hard skills with technology, being the young guy in the room, and be able to apply that and deploy that for, great growth.
And you mentioned Rockefeller Records. Any business lessons from Jay-Z, which is pretty much a legend, the rap game, one of the only billionaires in there?
Yeah, I personally haven't met him, but my dad did work with him. And yeah, I think a lot of it is just the mentality of keep moving forward, and being able to be resilient. A lot of, that group of people that came up in that industry came from very little. And, there's this mindset of like, if I fail, what do I go back to? And it's, hey, I failed so many times, I can fail my way up and, keep fighting forward. Because sometimes people get discouraged with just one failure, but no, you learn from those failures, you learn from those mistakes. There's so many things that have gone wrong that people don't talk about, and then they always see the success. But hey, you need to learn from those mistakes, because a lot of times the outside world only sees, the wins. But just, I think the biggest lesson that he's learned is, hey, like, let's learn from my failures. Let's learn from, my colleagues and different people we've seen in that industry, which had so much turmoil and change over, in the 90s and early 2000s, and build on that, because a lot of it is, bad deals with publishers, bad deals with, producers or artists, and managing that and applying that to the cannabis industry is something that's been really interesting, because it's similar. It's very much, you're looking at brands, you're promoting quality, and also you're promoting experience and a fan base. And so we're taking those lessons, and some of our partners that are working with us on this have background in the music industry as well as apply that to creating a great brand called Primo. And so this is something that's been translated across any industry, and it's another part of lessons I learned from having an entrepreneurial father and a lot of great mentors.
Right. You've been involved in politics, I would say, like giving speeches and stuff. Do you think that has an impact? Is it just that the PR play? Should young people get involved in politics like you do, or do you feel it's sort of an echo chamber when you get in there?
Yeah, it really feels sometimes that you can say something, have your moment, and nothing happens. But I realize with any bureaucracy, it takes a while for impact to happen. So, I spoke at the MSME Day, so Micro, Small, Medium-Sized Enterprise Day on June 27th at the UN. And basically, I talked about youth entrepreneurship and AI and the importance of getting young people to the table to talk about these things and how they're being used, and how learning has changed because of this as well. And I said these remarks in 2022, and then I'm like, okay, well, I don't see anything happening. But then what I say comes true, and then there's working groups and things that pop up of saying, okay, this is something that we reference from this minister in Argentina that wanted to learn more about this and has created this committee. So it's delayed, I would say. A lot of times it's definitely, and that's something that entrepreneurs like us understand, is delayed gratification. You put in a lot of work, you put in a lot of time trying to talk about what you want to talk about or ideas you want to manifest, and then they'll eventually come to fruition. I think the more people that get energized and talk when they can at forums, be that your local government or in your the big government or like international government like the UN, you have a platform where you can advocate and give others ideas. And so I translate that to when we were going to the local government to even have the option to have a license in our town, to have a store. You had to really present your case and have community support. Everything is politics and entrepreneurship, and people just don't realize it's different. It's not maybe making policy decisions, but you're influencing others. You're trying to show the benefit of something. And I think it's very helpful for young people to get involved and be passionate about what they care about and get their message across, because it doesn't go on deaf ears if you're constantly showing up and going to different places, talking about what you are passionate about.
Right. And with education and AI adoption, should we just stop teaching our kids to have good grades in tests and not use ChatGPT, and instead have them use ChatGPT and build businesses? Isn't that more aligned with the future that's coming at Lightspeed?
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of pushback on new technology, and I think it's good in moderation. There's no stopping students from using those technologies to learn and apply. And I think it's a different way of learning. It's the same thing with the calculator. I remember I was taking my calculus class and they're like, you can't use a calculator. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this if I'm going to use a calculator in like real world, and people have to accept that some tools are necessary for growth and advancement. And so I wouldn't say, hey, eliminate grades and challenge students. They should be able to learn the basics and the fundamentals, but to get to the next level, we have to think about it more broadly of being comfortable with technology, putting guardrails on it so that people don't misuse it, but also be able to not be scared of it and use it as a calculator or your computer. Same thing. I remember growing up, we weren't allowed to have, we didn't have access to the technology we have now, but iPads and computers you want to be able to bring into your classroom. And now that's part of the learning curriculum, is getting comfortable with that. And so I think that's going to be the same thing for ChatGPT as they did with the internet. It's the next thing forward that you're going to use as a tool to be able to do something. We just have to be more creative about assessments of how to grade students and prepare them for the real world.
Right. Yeah, I started a school that's called couni.com. It's for kids starting at 7, and we're basically teaching them how to start a business in their first year and use ChatGPT and ask it questions all the time. I think that's the ultimate best way to learn something, because I feel that school just impose topics on kids. They're not really interested. like when their kids are young, it's like, why is it that way, daddy? Why is
Mhm.
this? And they stop doing that because school is like, hey, you need to learn that, period. And I think giving them more flexibility and giving them a tool that's always with them 24/7, which is ChatGPT and these LLMs, I think that can be amazing for a brain. And I think that, say, in 15 years from now, let's say that you're 5 years old and you start school, 15 years old, if you enter the market, we might even have AGI in 15 years from now. So how the fuck will you compete with
Yeah.
that? It'll be a pretty daunting task. So how do you feel the market should react to that, or the educational system? Or should it be like mavericks like me to start apps like CEO uni.com and just try to take over this market to prepare the kids for AI readiness?
Yeah, I think those that fail to adapt will fall to the wayside. It's the same thing with, like I said, websites. People that were traditional businesses in plumbing or HVAC, they didn't have websites, and then people can't find them. They're not using the yellow books anymore. Same thing with ChatGPT and these new technologies. Those that capitalize, like you, who have these institutions that will help students and people be educated about these things, is important. It's a need. This Saturday, I'm working with the Elevate program again to teach business owners how to use ChatGPT and other AI tools to their benefit to create things that they're too busy for. A lot of these executives, don't want to hire. If they're a smaller company, don't want to hire an executive assistant. They want to hire all these extra people. Well, you can have people have the AI reply to your emails, help you rethink of your website, help you with documents, searching things. And so, again, it's a tool that I see people that use it will do great and grow, and those who don't, will not. Will have to look for your university and to learn and be better. And so, I think the way we encourage this is, yeah, add it to the curriculum, add it to the universities, add it to the elementary schools and middle schools. Make this something that's not taboo. Make this something that's accepted as the new future, and we'll advance all together.
What does a day today in your life look like? What habits are you nurturing to become better in most life areas?
Yeah, for me, since I do have so many responsibilities and sometimes it takes me in different time zones, I wake up very early. I try to have time for me. So just, I drink my lemon water. I'm really big about health and fitness, as my dad, instilled in me with the gym. And so I go to the gym, work out. That's where I de-stress and have, my time. And then I'll go in and read the news, see what's going on in the world, and then go into my workflow of what's most pressing. If we have meetings with someone in Australia, okay, we're gonna wake up really early and take that call, or go sleep really late and take that call. Or if we're talking to people on the East Coast, okay, I'm gonna make a call, see what's going on with my store, and get that together. So it really depends week to week. I was in DC on Thursday. We met with the ambassador of Singapore on just what you're asking me. What's the perspective of NGOs, the small businesses, on AI, and how can Singapore be a hub for the in Asia, for the West to come and work with these convening of great ideas, because a lot of these institutions are having a hard time bringing people together. So it's like, I'll get pulled here, go there, and try to share my knowledge. But I find that exciting, and just making sure I have time for myself has been a big, plus for me, is blocking out, on my calendar, relax, watch TV, just, don't do work, don't think about everything at once.
Right. Yeah, I have an idea for Singapore. You just cut it right and you bring it closer to the US so
Yeah.
that it doesn't have a 16-hour shitty time zone. No, but Singapore's is amazing. I've lived in Hong Kong for quite some while. I'm quite the international guy as well, studied in international business and have clients from all over the globe, even from India, right? You wouldn't think India would buy high ticket stuff, but they do. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of millionaires in India. So yeah, similar background that we have there. Want to ask you, like, you have a cannabis business as well. Like, do you integrate like CBD in your daily routine? In my native Canada, it's legalized, and every time that I step there, I do take CBD. It's a great mix with caffeine, just like balances you out. Do you consume your own products? Do you feel that there's actual benefits or biohacks in using cannabis?
Yeah, so the CBD stuff is very good. It's definitely, like you said, it helps calm you down and relax. I Our dispensary is mostly THC. We have CBD products, but I personally don't take THC because I have so much going on that I'm like I just it doesn't really work in my habits, but a lot of my staff and other team members do, and it really helps them with anxiety and going to big meetings and just being more relaxed or things like that. CBD I sometimes take, and that's good for just like relaxing along a day. I don't really take caffeine that much. I drink tea with a little bit of caffeine, but I know sometimes I get jittery. But there's a lot of interesting technology and new products that just take a little bit of the um, different phenotypes of the plant, and it'll put into a tablet that'll give you, attributes of focusing or relaxing. There's a product called 1906 that does that. And so there's lots of benefits, I would say, overall. And that's the biggest thing with Primo is we want to educate our consumers, and they are, from all different age ranges and different experiences. And so something that I'm working on currently with my development team is, creating more of a wiki for cannabis or weed, so that people understand what they can use and how can they, better elevate their life with these products and not misuse it. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that people are using it responsibly. And my staff has, been trained on all that.
I had a cool guest on my pod various times. His name is Len Mays, CEO of Endo DNA, and they do tests to understand your endocannabinoid
Yeah.
system. That's quite interesting for the future of it. And yeah, I'm the same with THC. Although I love a good macro dose every now and then to get deep in meditation. I found you can get very very deep with THC. There, so it sort of knocks your mouse over. One last question, as Mr. International, what do you think of the tariffs? What kind of impact will it have, one for the U.S. and second for the rest of the world?
Yeah, for the tariffs, we've been seeing a lot of ripples effects. And I think this is something that I really realized, is that how interconnected the world is, and how one component is made in one country, and now that this tariff is imposed, it's going to create a ripple effect for the end product. So as far as far-reaching as Australia, we had companies there say, I can't, afford to export anymore to the North America. I should focus and change the way they're looking at their local region. So I think a lot of the ripple effect of these tariffs stand is going to be a lot of emphasis on their locality, and also the free trade agreements they have within their different regions. So like ASEAN or the EU. Even in Africa, they're working on agreements with the African Union to encourage trade within. So I know the United States' motive is, hey, let's bring industry back to the United States and have things manufactured here. But that's also happening for other countries, because they're reliant on the U.S. on some aspects of their buying power, and so they're looking at how can we partner and build their own reliability, own reliance, independence from the United States. And so it's kind of interesting how the world's kind of being siloed a bit, which is has its benefits and problems. But I think in the end there'll be a balance of people rethinking the idea of supply chains and trying to make them less inflated, because you're may have a better cost saving, but the efficiency is very inefficient to ship something across the world and create so much waste in terms of gas and things that are being used. And so there might be a sustainable positive impact on this, because supply chains will be condensed a little bit more, which is good for the UN SDGs. But yeah, we're all waiting to see. I think I already talked to some business owners yesterday about how they're looking at different states and how they can manufacture in South Dakota or Ohio again, to bring things locally. So it's interesting, but I think the world will adapt and be innovative about it.
And for world peace and national security, isn't it good to trade with other nations and just to favor free flow of goods? Because yeah, for the environment and the efficiency, not so good. But for the trust between nations and not starting war, take like commerce and tourism, for example, are essentials. Do you second me on that?
No, I definitely agree with you that you want to be having good conversation and trade with your neighbors and across the world, because it's diplomatic, it's a diplomacy chip if we have open borders and open relationship with each other. So I definitely agree that we want to have more trade among everyone in order to encourage that. And again, there's different types of trade. People think just hard commodities, but also, with entertainment, you saw how Korea and the shows on Netflix are showing international markets. And I think people have been talking about the White Lotus and how they do the different shows in different locations and how that's driving tourism to Thailand now. It's so many different factors. And in my opinion, I think people want to encourage that and keep that going. So it's interesting to see how this will affect it. I think maybe the governments might disagree, but the people are still enthusiastic about traveling and learning from each other.
There you go. Skye, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest. It's Skye Blanks. And you can message me. I'm doing interviews, actually, if you're a business owner, for my second edition of my book called Fundamentals of Fortune, and where we're doing case studies to see if strategies that are happening in this crazy economic time will still apply. So yeah, reach out to me there.
Well, Skye Blanks.